Hi, welcome to Chinwag. I'm Kim from Pooches Galore.
And I'm Carla at Completely Canine.
And today we are chatting about enrichment, which is always a favorite topic, but specifically free enrichment. So stuff like your recycling box, stuff you can pick up on walks, things you can make from household items.
And
Anything else?
also about what it is.
Okay.
So, what is enrichment and how does it differ in relation to the dog that you've got? What do they prefer?
Okay. Let's
Yeah,
get into it.
let's do it.
Okay, what is enrichment then?
So, enrichment, I would say my own definition is sort of activity in terms of dog training, activities that benefit a dog and add stuff to their life. Do you have
Okay.
a better one than that? I'm
I
not good
would
at definitions.
I think, yeah, I would say enrichment is using the dog's natural senses and abilities and things that they would do in the wild to give them a greater sense in their life. So adding more scent work in, adding, using all of their senses, and then using foraging behaviors, finding behaviors, destroying behaviors that they often will use naturally in their day-to-day lives, but kind of making it with more purpose.
Yeah,
So
that's a
it's
much better one than mine, isn't it?
I always I
Guys, if
think
you want any kind of definition for anything, you go to Kim.
I do love to define things. I think it's because that's how I explain it to people, because
Mm,
I think a lot of the time with enrichment, people get very caught up in I need to go on a certain website I'm not going to promote in any way, shape, or form.
mm.
And I need to buy enrichment based toys that
Yes.
spin, or the dog pulls a bit and a drawer pops out, or they lick, or they chew. And that's
Mm,
enrichment. Whereas I want to think of it like more globally than that, as
mm,
about use and it not just being, oh, I'm going to do some enrichment with my dog now, or I'm going to feed them their tea in an enrichment way now. I want enrichment to be stuff that happens to the dog a lot of the time rather than
yeah.
a little bit of the time. And
Yeah.
I want people to think about it in terms of their individual dog as well.
Yeah. And I think as well, like we do a lot of enrichment based activities that are sniffing,
Yes.
and are at home doing sniffing things.
Yes.
I do say to people sometimes, like, it doesn't have to just be that. Like,
No.
enrichment can be agility, enrichment could
Yes.
be, a walk with your dog in a different place. It can be
Yes.
anything that adds to your dog's day or to your dog's week, where, like you've said, they're using their natural senses usually, and it makes them feel good.
Yeah. And I think a lot of the time with because I obviously do a lot more behavior work than training work nowadays. A lot of behavioral problems don't come from a lack of enrichment, but they do come from the dog not necessarily having an outlet for certain
Mm,
behaviors. And so it becomes problematic because it becomes too much to be able to manage. It becomes destructive, or a number of different things. And so giving the dog a natural outlet for that behavior, that's enrichment.
it
So you're
is, yeah,
taking a behavior that you don't really like digging up the garden, and you get them a sandpit and bury treats in it, and you
yeah,
get them to dig there. So you're
yeah,
taking something you don't actually like that
yeah,
much, and you're giving it more purpose, and you're giving the dog an
yeah,
outlet for it. Otherwise, you're playing a game of whack-a-mole where you stop them digging in the garden, and then they start destroying your sofa, and then you stop them doing that, and then they're attacking the male. And you're just trying
mm,
to suppress behaviors, whereas we can give them really good natural outlets for
mm,
everything. I love a
yeah.
sandpit.
Yeah, the same here. For myself.
Although we're getting our tortoise a sandpit, so that'll be
Oh, no
interesting.
way.
Yeah.
Oh, that could be fun.
Oh, so much fun. I was like, maybe not just yet. It's not quite the weather for her.
No,
She
not
needs it
quite
a
yet.
lot hotter.
Yeah, you have to get a lid as well. I figured out that you have to get lids because cats like to poo
Oh
in
yeah. I thought you meant for the
armpits.
tortoise, and I was like, I'm not locking her
No,
in the
no.
sandpit. Poor
No,
Belinda.
no, poor Belinda. Such a great name for a tortoise, isn't it?
Such a great.
It's great.
Um, yeah.
Yeah.
So I, the more you can look at what your dog wants to do, and then take that and give them it in the same or a different way, but with more purpose. That's what I'm always trying to get dogs to do.
Yeah, and like I have this conversation quite a lot with clients when I go and see them. In fact, probably most of my behavior assessments, I will have this conversation where
Always.
people are trying to say, my dog's doing this, and they list out probably 5 things, and probably 3 out of 5 of those things are just very normal dog behaviors that they just are undesirable in the context that they're in, or the owners don't know how to deal with it. And I'm like, well, if we try and are rid of all these behaviors completely, then we are not going to help the dog, because you're not meeting them halfway. You're not giving them an outlet for what they're telling you very clearly, undesirably, that they need. So we have to meet them halfway. We have to find a way of giving them the outlet so they don't offer it in those spaces. And quite often people will say, but won't this teach my dog that they can do it more, or will it create something to do it more? And you're like, well, no, because they have an outlet. The necessities come down, and this is like a border collie thing as well. So
I was just, do you know what?
Collies. Were you reading my brain?
A case that I'm working on, and it was a collie who was herding up the owner, and it was just that exact thought. I mean, other breeds. Did we go on about collies last week as well?
We did. We talked about collies a lot.
We must talk about other breeds. But yeah, every breed has their own outlet. Terriers like to destroy stuff, so they'll often rip mail up because it's really fun. Because they do, you know, if they kill an animal, they'll rip it to shreds. It's that ripping that they really love.
Yeah, and
it's like in a Labrador. I was just thinking, you know, when they jump up and get overexcited about saying hi to someone, get them to bring you something.
Yeah, definitely. And so instead of your slipper, sock, shoe that they dribble on and have in their mouth, then, you know, teach them the name of a toy, and they go and fetch that toy every time someone comes to the door. Or bully breeds. Bully breeds love to grab. Like they're made to grab and pull and use their strength on things. So, you know, play more games of tuggy. You're not, you can work with arousal levels. You can work on sort of interrupting that behavior, which will help, but you're not going to create a crazy dog or a dog that pulls and grabs, because they're bred to do it. They're doing it anyway. So you might as well give them an outlet for it that is appropriate.
Absolutely. But I do think that the kind of problem at the moment that I see is that there is a plethora of really good enrichment toys on the market. I'm not saying don't buy enrichment toys, because there are some really good ones out there, and there are some really engaging and interesting toys that a lot of dogs really love. But also, it doesn't have to be a toy that has the label in an enrichment toy associated with it. It can literally be, and we'll come on to, a whole host of different things. Some stuff you may have thought about, and then there's a lot of stuff that I'm sure people won't have thought of as kind of enrichment as well.
Yeah, and so this morning, I was walking with one of our clients who have a spaniel, and we were doing loose lead walking, and we were doing that for quite a lot of his walk, and that involves some enrichment for him because he actually really engages with it and he loves it. But what we were talking about this week is adding in other types of interactions with him and his environment whilst we're on that walk. So that could be putting his paws on things, climbing on things, or sniffing in a different area, or sniffing within grass. In autumn, I love autumn because leaves. Scatter feeding in leaves is free. It's wonderful. Dogs love it. They get that outlet to sniff. And you can work, you know, with different seasons as well. You have different opportunities in different seasons to use different types of enrichment. But in terms of at home, like you were saying, your recycling bin is the best place ever.
Yeah. To the point where actually Stan, when we go on a walk and the recycling bins are out, he's like, oh, this is my tub. And I'm like, no, this is not that one. And then
this is my play tub.
Oh, this is my tub. I'm like, no, we have to keep going. But yeah, there's so much that you can use in a recycling tub, or just stuff that you have around the house that either is really easy to clean, or you've got multiple and you can sacrifice one to your dog along the way. But it doesn't have to be complicated. It doesn't have to be time consuming. My favorite thing is if I order something and it arrives in a box, and inside of that box is scrunched up paper. That's brilliant. That is just what I want, because the paper's safe. I can scatter feed treats in there. I can seal the box back up or not, depending on how able my dog is. And then they can just rip it to shreds. Brilliant. Bit of tidying up afterwards. But I always get very excited. I think all dog trainers or dog owners that do a lot of this get very excited when it's a box with paper in.
Yeah, it's certain times of the year that kind of trigger the excitement as well. So Christmas is a big one. Your dog gets so much enrichment at Christmas because when people open their presents, it's shred the envelope, shred the paper, help me open it, and they absolutely love it. Or when people have Easter eggs and you can take the boxes for the Easter eggs and you can sprinkle treats in there and do them back up again, and they're really good ones for it. Or if people have advent calendars, you can use the little holes in those for them as well. So it's opportunistic. It's like, if you've got it there, you don't even have to prep it. It's like, okay, I've just been shopping, this can come out of the box, brilliant, let's fill some treats in there and let's stick it outside and my dog can go wild and have some fun with it.
That's it. And as long as it's dog safe, that's absolutely fine. With the Easter egg and advent calendar, I always do those way after Easter, so that there's no confusion for the dog in between the this was an Easter egg box I can't, and this is an Easter egg box that might kill me.
Yeah. A lot of you can buy dog Easter eggs and things now as well, can't you?
Can buy dog everything now.
You can buy dog everything. But so you can be opportunistic, but also you can use enrichment for, like, when your dog's left alone, if they don't have separation anxiety, you can, use enrichment tools to develop independence. You can do it to keep them entertained if they tend to get bored and start chewing things. If you have a rainy day, you can do some enrichment stuff, and you can pick whether this is interactive with you or this is your dog having enrichment toys and games on their own.
Yes, because sometimes it's nice to set them up and then leave them to it so you can have a bit of time to do other stuff. But other times it's nice to do it with your dog, and when you do it with your dog, you learn so much more about what they are happy to engage with, what's a bit worrying for them. Do they not like the slippy? Do they not like the noisy? Like, what are they happy to do, and what are they a little bit more tentative about? So learning stuff like that as well is really helpful. We might not always get to see that because of the way you feed them. Or
definitely. And the sensory sessions that we've done, we've kind of stopped them now, but we did them over winter for dogs that kind of, but perhaps are a bit reactive, perhaps their owners struggle to walk them because it's like it's icy, whatever. These were kind of enrichment sessions where I kind of set the space up and we put down loads of different items. Some of them move and make noise, so it essentially is free work, but it was in a hall. It was a massive space, and the dogs can come and go in. There's tents, there's toys, there's all sorts, and they can go to where they want for that 25 minutes. And to say 25 minutes is a pretty good, 20 to 25 minutes is a good amount of time for an enrichment session. You don't need to do much more than that for them. And that was really interesting because people videoed their dog and they note took and they kind of highlighted what their dogs liked and didn't like. And a lot of them went home and actually recreated some of the bits that dogs liked. So I really, really enjoyed seeing the videos of them practicing at home. And that included sounds and smells and all sorts of stuff. So it's worth thinking about that. It doesn't have to be just a cardboard box on the floor with treats in. You could introduce your dog to some lavender.
Yes.
You could introduce your dog to a safe, another safe scent for dogs. And that's another level of enrichment for them.
Yeah, and you can do that, I'm not a massive gardener, but you can go to the garden centre and think of things that are going to be more interesting to your dog and create a little area for them with lavender or different herbs or geraniums, that kind of. I'm not very good on my plants, but the smellier ones, the ones that the leaves smell and the flowers are really scented. And as long as their dog's safe, then you can have a little area, and then that can be their little scent area outside as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And there's we've got a few clients that are really good with this now. So they use essential oils with their dogs. They'll use different plants and herbs with them, and they'll do a bit of, I always say the word wrong, is it zoopharmacology or pharma?
Zoopharmacology,
zoopharmacology, where you get your dog to kind of investigate on their own, and they can pick and choose what to eat in terms of leaves and things, and it's kind of a self-medication in effect. But that takes a while to build up. But you don't even need to do that. It can just be, it's a new smell, it's a new thing to investigate, and they'll be processing during that time, and they'll be interpreting things, and they'll be holding new sense in the olfactory, they'll be processing it, and this takes energy. So it does burn that energy that you think you might need to use by throwing a ball around. It does use a lot of that energy. In fact,
it probably uses more because it's. And the other thing is, if your dog is on crate rest or is housebound for a period of time, or if you've got a bitch that's in season and they're not going on their normal big walks, they're on their lead a little bit more, you can then one thing I try and encourage people to do is go on a walk without your dog and pick things up that they would normally have. So get some leaves from one bit, cut some grass from another, and have them all in little bowls, and then let your dog explore that, because that's taking stuff that they know but putting in a different environment, and it can be really helpful. And it's good as well if you have a very nervous dog. You can introduce the outside sense back into your house, so when they go out it's not quite so overwhelming for them as well.
Yeah, absolutely. Definitely done that before. And for so if you've got puppies that have like things like giardia and stuff where they can't go out, you can very carefully select things to bring in for them to smell. The only thing I would say is if you've got like really nervous or international rescues, and you know they've got a safe space within the home, that you don't do that in their safe space.
No, not
you
in the safe
garden, or you do it further away, because then they can come to and from it and still feel safe.
But it's a really, it might feel a bit crazy going out and like picking stuff up, but you can get sticks and leaves and gravelly bits and grass, and there's all sorts of stuff and that your dog is constantly taking in, and it can just be a nice introduction or a way to keep them entertained, depending on the dog as well.
Yeah, scent boxes are really handy for training as well. So if you just get like a tub or cardboard box or whatever, and you fill it with leaves and sticks and smells, or little bits of sheep wool, whatever you want to put in there, and you've got a dog that really struggles to focus on you outside of the house, you can practice doing some like training games with that, where you get your dog to do a focus exercise, and you drop some treats in the tub, because for that dog the reinforcement value goes up because of the space that they're taking their reward from. So we have done that in agility sometimes, when dogs don't like to wait on a start line, where we use a sniffing tub with loads of stuff in it, and they're more likely to stay with you and focus because what you're using is more fun. So it could help you then to translate into other spaces.
And that's the great thing about enrichment, is it's so flexible, but it has so many benefits across so many different areas of your dog's life, no matter what their starting point is. So you can have a dog that really doesn't like going outside, and you can really build up their confidence, or you could have a dog that's so confident outside that they're really struggling on other factors, and you can bring it, you can use it to bring them down. So it's a real leveler, isn't it, across the board of dogs like that we see on a
and
day-to-day basis.
Like you said, with planting lavender and stuff, you could, like, a really good idea that would be free to help a dog that's nervous and do enrichment is to have lavender in the garden that you get your dog used to, and then if you plant lavender on the front or the end of your drive as a familiar smell, your dog might be more comfortable going out the front, because it's this like really nice familiar smell that they're used to help them kind of move further away from the house. So you can be really creative with it.
Yeah, absolutely. And you can use I use enrichment zones as well as I go round that help, I'll be like, right, we're just going to get them to that patch of gravel, and when they get there, we're going to sprinkle some treats. And it's just a nice way to get them moving around an environment, finding lots of fun stuff. It might not always be scattering treats. It could be, I'm working with a collie who we have play zones on his walk, because that's all he wants to do. So he'll have little stops, and then he'll get to a play zone, and then a few little stops, and we're building it up. And he does that in car parks and supermarkets at 7 o'clock on a Sunday evening when they're really quiet, and all of these little things that you can just add in. But once you have that as a bank of knowledge of what enrichment you can do where, it's so much easier then to be like, oh my goodness, there's a lamppost or a gnarly tree that I can vertically hide treats rather than them being on the floor. Or
and once you start seeing them, you don't unsee them. They're everywhere. You're like, oh my god, you'd be walking on your own or running, and you're like, that is such a good tree.
It's always a tree. It's always the gnarly trees. I'm like, oh my god, that's or a wall. Or if the fence slats are a certain way, I get really excited.
Quote of the day.
If
fence slats are a certain way, I get really excited.
Really? Yeah. But you know what I mean? Like, you'll be like, oh, that I can't do it with that fence, but that one's better.
So when the guy I walked earlier with was like, oh my god, the lamppost has got a ridge on it, put a treat on there. I was like, you've got this.
That's it. That's what we're looking for. We don't want flat surfaces.
We want horizontal ridges.
We want ridges and things that we can hide stuff in.
Or you take squeezy cheese with you, and then everything becomes a ledge.
Everything, or sticky ham, or dried sprats are another good one that you can.
Cheese.
So there's lots of options with with food rewards. And then I also like things like a little backpack where you can put a few different things in, and your dog doesn't know what they're going to have and where and when. And
yeah, and it's taking, it is thinking, like, so a lot of people probably think of enrichment more in the house and garden. So we've spoken about that, how, that's beneficial for certain, well, for everything really, but you can also take that, what you're doing outside. So we've had, for example, dogs that maybe find the park or a field or an open space or whatever really overwhelming or really overexciting. You can go and put a licky mat down.
Yeah.
You can just get them out the car. You can sit them in the car and watch the space and have a licky mat. Like, that's fine. If your dog's on crate rest, they can also do that.
They can also do that, yeah. And if you have a dog that is overwhelmed by a garden, a space outside, I often will get the dog to come out of the car or the vehicle, and then there will be a little setup for them, which is licky mats, sniffy stuff, scenty type things. So they get out the car and their nose is straight down, and it's all calming, engagement type, enrichment type things. And then when they finish that, they are on a different level, and then I can start doing other stuff with them. Sometimes you get a dog out the car and they're at level 9. It's like, well, you spend ages walking around trying to get them to come down. But actually, if you think, I've worked with this dog before, last time it took us 20 minutes to get to a point where we could start to work, I can set something up this time. We can get them working at a different level much quicker. And it shows the owners then how quickly they can do stuff.
Exactly. And so the one thing that I would recommend if people do that is just to ensure that wherever you park up or start, there aren't other dogs that can come up and see that space and be in it, because it can be quite an attractive space. We've had it before where we started up there's a dog walking field not far from me, and I say it's dog walking field, it's actually a football field, but it's usually relatively quiet, and I had some sort of free work stuff set up right in a far corner, and someone came in and let their dog off, and he flew straight over to us because we had stuff on the floor. So that's the only thing that I would say is just be aware of where you're doing it, but it can be so beneficial, even if it's a licky mat or just something on the floor outside your vehicle, so your dog doesn't rush out of the vehicle or get too over. And
if it is an area that's busier, or that dogs might appear kind of not out of nowhere but quite quickly, and it's just put one thing down, let your dog explore that, and then put the next thing down. So instead of having 5 different things out that you've spent 5 minutes setting up, you just have them all, and then you rotate them around. So there are ways to make it a little bit, but it's like when you're working on recall with the dog, all the dogs come, you're like, I was looking for.
Really hard to find a space that is like a quiet away space, isn't it? But
I often try and do it by a roadside, just because I think other owners are a little bit more aware if their dog is bolting over to a
little bit.
A little bit. I mean, there's only so much you can do sometimes. But,
but no, that's a really nice idea. And sometimes I think thinking about, we sometimes forget that it's not all about the eating. Your dog has so many different senses that you can work with, where you can expose them. So like we say with puppies from a young age, before they're vaccinated, get them out in a sling, get them out in the boot of the car, and just let them listen, let them watch, let them sniff something, let them, think about which other senses your dog has, and how can you use a little bit of music perhaps, or some spray, like nice smelling dog smelly sprays. I don't know, there's so much stuff that you can do that will add to their day.
Totally. And it isn't, you don't have to do this all day every day either. You can just do it on a nice Tuesday afternoon or a Saturday or a Sunday. It doesn't always have to be, right, I'm going on a walk and I need to take 3 licky mats and 3 toys, and I need to find a tree and I need to hide this and I need to do that. Sometimes it is absolutely okay just to go for a walk with your dog and not worry about a million other things, and you can put your headphones in and you can listen to a podcast, maybe like you are now, and that is absolutely fine. Because I can imagine it does get a little bit overwhelming, but just on those walks where you're just thinking, I just want to walk, just thinking, I'm just going to let them sniff here for a little bit longer. It's a bit like longer grass, I'm just going to spend 2 extra minutes letting them sniff here. That is enrichment. You don't have to do multi-level thinking about every sense that they have and trying to stimulate them all and do everything, you just occasionally just think, oh, I'm just gonna give them a minute here.
Yeah, just go on a little sniffari. Let your dog, as long as it's safe for you to do so and it's relatively quiet, let your dog lead by tracking and sniffing, because you don't have to do anything.
No.
And your dog is self-rewarding in the environment, but you're allowing that to happen. It doesn't need to be loose lead walking. It doesn't need, do you know what I mean? It needs, you can have days where your dog can just be a dog for a bit and do what they fancy doing.
I go on a really quiet walk that I'm not going to mention on this because I want it to stay really quiet, predominantly because I can just let him be. I can walk around and he walks around, and as much as we're together and he checks in and I can recall him, he can pretty much do what he wants, and it's really safe. It's a safe environment, and we go there a couple of times a week, and I just, for half an hour, he just gets to run, and he likes, he's a pointer, he just likes to run and he can just
really fast in a straight line.
No, he does do circles. He's a bit more greyhoundy. So he does massive loops around, and it's great. And because it's so quiet, I don't have to be mindful of other owners. I don't have to be thinking. The only thing that might crop up is a deer, and then he would run really fast in a straight line, straight towards it. But as long as that deer jumps over the ditch that Stanley can quite clearly clear, we're all good.
Okay.
And I know where they go, so I'm fairly confident, and it's really rare. And also he's so stupid, like he's only seen one before me once, and that's because the deer came from behind us and ran past, and otherwise I'm like, oh, there's a deer over there. Suddenly it's like, la, da, 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 da. I didn't see no deer. So
I mean, it's kind of enrichment, so
it's kind of enrichment as long as it jumps over that ditch and not onto the main road. I think the deer are much cleverer than Stanley. So. I did come up with a list of items that people may have around their house that can be used for any enrichment in any environment.
Okay,
because I came up with the list, we're going to go through the list.
Okay, we'll go through the list in order, please.
Oh, it's not in any specific order. It was just in a came out of my brain order.
That's fine. We'll do that.
Tea towels.
Yes.
Obviously, don't use your favourite, the one that the kids draw when they're at nursery that has all the, barely looking like human pictures on. Don't use something like that. Use the one that's got a hole in it already. You can roll it up and put treats in it and roll it up and make it into like a cinnamon bun type. I had 2 cinnamon buns over the weekend. So
you are really into the cinnamon buns at the minute.
I love a cinnamon bun, and they often have dairy in them, so it means I can't have them. So when I see one and it's vegan, I'm immediately all in.
By 4.
I buy them all. So cinnamon buns, and then the dog can just unravel it. Really gentle enrichment, that one, really nice. You can scrunch it up and put it inside of a box. And also, because it's a tea towel, and I'm sure that everyone's tea towels are spotlessly clean, they will have a scent of food on them as well. So
and then if you have a slippy floor, put it on a carpet, because it won't roll around. It's less frustrating. And if you have a larger dog, maybe use like a hand towel, a bigger hand towel, proper one, or a bath towel. Or the beach towel that you use once a year.
You're not precious about all of these things. Don't be precious about them. They're things that we're going to give to a dog. So bear that in mind. Carrots.
Yes.
A whole carrot. Especially for a puppy. Freeze it. Don't freeze it. Broccoli, another one. Bit messier, have to say. All the little flowery bits, but still.
Or like a lettuce as well, so you can use
lettuce.
Iceberg lettuces are really good because they can pick and shred,
and no one wants to eat them. So
no one wants to eat them. I do, but I can't because they hurt my stomach. So
it's just water.
It's just lettuce and just salad. I have a problem. Go.
All cardboard boxes.
Yes.
Big, little, they all have a use. All of them.
And you can have a box in a box in a box.
You can have a box in a box in a box in a box. And you can have them closed, you can have them open. So many uses for a cardboard box. Kitchen rolls and toilet roll innards.
Yes.
You can fold down the ends, fill it with food. So that would be something that I would do for like my dog's kibble tea. I'd put there. Kibble inside and then they could just rip them to shreds.
We call them fortune cookies.
Fortune, absolutely. Egg boxes.
Yes, they're so good.
They're so useful.
Not that we have them.
Not that we have them, but you know, for others.
Yeah.
Although I do steal them from my dad.
Do you? Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do. I don't want the eggs, but I do want the box. They're
Yes.
just so useful, and you can put stuff. Oh, you can put like a treat in each of the divots. I don't know what you call like the egg cup bit, and then you can put stuff on top of that as well, so that they have multi layers.
Yeah.
Old sheets. You can
you can pile egg boxes up.
You can. That sounded like a revelation.
In between the layers.
Yeah. You can do all sorts. All of these things. You can just be creative. I love it when I go and see a house that's got kids of probably about Alice's age, like 8 to maybe 11, 12, because they love making stuff for their dogs.
Yes.
And so you can get them really engaged, and they come up with amazing ideas. So we have just had half term, but coming up to Easter, get the kids involved, because it's just something that they enjoy doing. So
yeah, scavenger hunt. Kids love scavenger hunts. Yeah. Keeps them busy for ages.
Yeah, absolutely. Old sheets, you can make them so that you can scatter food on them, but you can also cut them up, make them into tuggy toys. Especially for puppies, a lot of the like fleecy knotted tuggy toys that are on the market, they're too tightly woven, too tightly knotted for the puppy teeth, and they can get caught and pull them out. So I often say to people to buy some, or find what you've got around, some bits of old fleece and just plait them. It's the same thing, but it's not quite as tight for their little teeth to get like stuck in.
Yeah, or you can use an old t-shirt. If you cut that into strips, you can make a plait with that as well. Yeah.
Jeans are a really good one as well, denim.
Yeah.
That's another one on my list ticked off. Leaves we've talked about a lot. Plant pots.
Yes.
Love a plant pot. Hide stuff under them.
Yeah.
Get them to find them. Old socks. And this is one where, like, you talked about it earlier about people saying, yeah, but they chew my socks. And if I give them a sock, well, that then makes them chew my other socks. Essentially, but management's really key on these things.
And it's is how you use it for the enrichment as well.
Yeah, you don't want them picking up a sock. Like if I was going to use it for enrichment, they wouldn't have free availability to it at other times, because I want to make that time like more special, a bit different, a bit more focused, rather than all of the time. And then old muffin tins, metally ones, and you can put tennis balls on top. And you can hide stuff underneath. So that's just I did that in about 2 minutes, that list of just stuff that people might have around. The other one is milk cartons, and you can cut little holes in the, obviously children would need supervising for this, but just big enough for kibble or treats to be knocked out of. Put the kibble in, put the lid on really tightly, and then just let the dog bat it around, and the kibble will pop out.
Yeah. Yep.
I think that was it.
I tend to leave the lids off, just because I've got a few that will chew the end of it because it looks really exciting, and they'll pop the lid off. So it just depends on the dog.
I wouldn't leave the dog unattended with that one.
No.
Because of the sharp plastic.
Yeah, and it's also that's a really good enrichment activity for dogs with noise phobia, because they go into control of the noise, so they get used to the sounds around their head. Absolutely. Yeah, it's a good list.
It's a good list, and there's a million other things I'm sure people have got around their houses, but that kind of list went through lots of different like areas of stuff that they can they can eat or use without having to go and spend hundreds of pounds on enrichment toys.
And then you can think about using the environment, so you don't have to have items. Think about your garden. What have you got in your garden? You can, if you've got a wall, get some squeezy cheese and just blob loads of bits of squeezy cheese all over your wall, and they can go out and sniff for it. Or if you have a terrier, I like this one, a terrier that likes to perimeter run and perimeter bark, if you set them up so the dog's inside and you go and hide treats or fluffy toys, whatever they like most, around the perimeter of the garden, release them out to go and search for them, you take away the barking because they're too busy doing what they need to do in the perimeter that they're working in.
Or, and this is my favourite and probably the one we do the most in our house, just get your dog's cup of kibble, just throw it outside.
Not near the toilet area, just anywhere else.
Just throw it outside.
Yeah Absolutely.
Like
it can be so easy, and it can be like a second.
Does not need to be any more than that. It genuinely doesn't. And I scatter feed in my kitchen, so if the weather's not good enough, I just throw it in the kitchen on the floor, and they can find it there, because it's kibble. It's really like
it's cleaner.
clean. And then or I'll just throw it outside.
Yep.
Dead easy.
Yeah.
It doesn't have to be anything more than that, but it can be.
Yeah. When I go to my brother's house, I will, because they tend to clean up the kids' toys and then the dogs are left for a little while. I'll go round, and when I go round, I just get 4 or 5 toys out the cupboard they haven't seen in a while and just put them on the floor, and they'll just sniff, play, chew, whatever. And then you can just get toy box and rotate
it. Yeah. Because I know our toy box is like, there's the stuff at the top that gets used frequently, and then there's the stuff at the bottom that even I don't know what's in there anymore.
So,
definitely looking for other options like that is super useful. Well, hopefully that's given people lots and lots of ideas, suggestions.
I think we were quite thorough, weren't we?
I think so. It's not much. There was nothing on my list that we haven't been through, which is always my aim at the end of this.
Good. Yeah, that was really good.
Yeah, brilliant. Okay, well, we will see you next week.
We will. If anyone's got any things they do, by the way, that are different, then let us know, because we're always happy to add more ideas to our list.
Yeah, so. Definitely. I mean, I do think if we'd gone through every single suggestion, we would be a very long episode.
That would be a very long episode, wouldn't it?
But hopefully we've given enough suggestions that people can take it and then implement it in their own way going forwards.
Yep.
Next week I'm at Crufts. So if anyone's at Crufts on Friday, I am doing the question and answer sessions on the APDT stand. So come along and say hi.
Yay.
Woo! That's exciting.
That'll be so exciting. And then we're running.
And then we've got a long run on the Saturday. That'll be fun.
We've got a very long run. Yeah.
More fun for me than you, maybe.
I think so. I'm going to be dragged over on that run, aren't I?
I'm going to tether you to me. Like, let's go.
That's fine. It'll help.
So I'm at Crufts on Friday. So if anyone's there, let me know. And then I'll see you for tea on Friday night.
Woo!
Right then. See you soon, lovely.
Bye.